Good Thursday evening, everybody. If you hear a bunch of noise in the background, it's coming out of the bedroom. Jerry's listening to a audio book, which sometimes I do the same thing depending on how I feel or how my eyes feel, but I want to listen to a book or something like that. Excuse me. If the angle of what's going on behind me is different than what you're used to, it's because I am using a new yet old tripod. Basically, it's a tripod that we've had in the house for a while that we haven't used in a long time. So for me, because it was one of Jerry's, um, it's slightly broken, which is fine by me as long as the stand part works. I really don't mind. What you doing underneath there? What you doing underneath there, nosy girl? Yes, Oreo's in here with me. She spends most of the day with Mama, so she's spending some time with Daddy while he tries to do a vlog and maybe some cleanup or planning for the weekend. I realized after this week of no plans, no written idea of what I wanted to do for the week, that and still trying to recuperate from my my dental work, because I found, and then the other day I found that there's a chunk. It feels like a chunk of tooth that was stuck to the gum when the tooth was pulled out. So the dentist wants me to come in, or the oral surgeon wants me to come in tomorrow afternoon to take a look at that and see what needs to be done. That, and it's kind of like a follow-up just to see how I'm healing. I got to get a hold of the actual dentist to see how long they want me to heal up before trying to get dentures in. I'm pretty sure he means, like, since the sutures have already come out, except for maybe one or two. Hold on, I'm trying to check. Sorry. I can't tell if that's a suture not sticking up or, God forbid, another chunk of tooth, because that means, well, I've done it myself. I've found chunks of tooth hanging onto the gums after a tooth either came out or broke apart before the dental visitations, and all I did was flicked it around with my tongue, and then ended up grabbing the end and gently pulling until it came unattached with very little to no bleeding. But because this area where that chunk of tooth feels like it's at is a fairly new operated location, I don't want to do anything myself. Of course, last time I pulled out my own teeth or whatnot with pliers or whatever, I was drinking, a good bottle of mead or something like that a week way back, 4 or 5 years ago. But because of one thing or another with my health and whatnot, I can say that I am self-sobered for over 6 months at least. In other words, I haven't had a drop of alcohol of any kind, meat or otherwise, in, well, I don't know about 6 months, but I'd say close to a 6 month period. So I'm happy about that. I can think of a lot of different people or a lot of different events that have happened over the last couple months or so that has made things a little bit easier on me. I'm not stressed out, especially lately. Granted, I've had to step out of my comfort zone on several different things. I don't want to get in detail because personally it's between me, Jerry, and the man upstairs. Excuse me. I am still slowly moving myself to the other side of the house, Mom's old office. I sat down a time or two to talk to Jerry about my feelings towards this whole situation, because I have this on off type. Yes, I want to move over there. No, I don't want to move over there. Type feelings, because well, if I were to move the furniture over here and it's big furniture, it would take up most of this room. If I were to stay in this room with all my paraphernalia, I would not feel comfortable, because I would feel overwhelmed by things not being put away properly or not in their proper places. So, and Jerry Ann and I had talked about, returning this room as a guest room after I move all my office stuff to the other side of the house. Now, I kind of say yes to that, because it would be nice to have a room open for guests, whether it's family or friends, whomever. So it's kind of like a slow moving train, because this last week or week and a half, between Jerry's back procedure, which she is healing, she's pretty much healed up, and she's starting to do more things. But I tell her don't push it, because I don't know exactly the full details of her procedure. I think she said ablation, but I'm not sure. I don't know what they called it, but she had something done with her back where it either deadens the nerves or something like that. And the doctor said once you're pretty much healed up, which is, they gave her like 3 or 4 days, and they said after 3 or 4 days you can start like doing more, bending, twisting, picking things up, stuff like that. But then my procedure was the day afterwards, and they said give yourself 3 to 4 days to recuperate before you start doing like eating solid foods or trying to chew, which has been fun. Trying to chew without teeth, but I've been cutting my meat up into like. Have you ever seen those pouches of ham tidbits for salads where they're like itty bitty little chunks of ham? That's basically what I'm doing, but not that small. I mean, for the most part, most meats that are like chicken that's cooked a certain way, chicken nuggets, microwave chicken breasts, if I cut them to not a like itty bitty micro size, but just like a half the size of a normal chicken nugget, or a quarter of the size of a normal chicken nugget, I can break that up against the roof of my mouth because it's soft. But I'm eating like pasta, and sometimes, like, what was it? Monday I had a chicken salad, and the chicken was pretty much shredded, and I had to like literally slice up my bowl of salad where it was like really small, and the only parts I had problems with, and I pulled them out and gave them to Oreo because she likes them, is that thick white spine from the leaf of the lettuce is really tough and hard to chew, so Oreo got some of that. Oriole's been a really good girl lately. She's been really gentle with me because she can tell something's wrong with Daddy, But she's also very inquisitive of what's going on around the house. And she's like our personal inspector. Every piece of mail, every package, everything that comes in this house, no matter how small or where it came from, she's got to check it out. She's got to sniff it and make sure that it's okay. It's not dangerous or harmful, which I think is funny, because the other day, I picked up some shampoo, and she was not happy about the smell. She sneezed at it and not really, well, yeah, kind of pawed at it, like, get it away from me, go away type situation. But she's a good dog. Yes, you are. What you got on that nose? Flake from the floor? Something from the floor? Something you nosing around out? So basically, the move from one location to another has kind of halted. This weekend, I would like to sit down with Jerry and get a few projects done. One of them we both agree needs to be done before we can move forward with anything else, is finishing up the apothecary in the kitchen or the dining room area. So I think we're going to work on that, and I wanted to, because the new month is coming up, I wanted to go through the food stores and revamp my pantry to basically take what's the word I'm thinking about? Category or stock? Take stock and track of what kind of dry goods and canned foods that we have in the pantry. That way we can shop smartly and not get extra stuff. I gotta look at my calendar to see when I go back, when I can go to the food pantry to pick up some supplies that are good with a lot of like household goods that cost money. Some food, some canned goods and frozen meats and produce. So I mean, the one place is really good. The other places we order a box and we let them know that basically we're on a we're on a diabetic type diet, so we don't want like anything with high sugars or high glucose or stuff like that. So a lot of times we get like low sugar or no sugar products. They definitely give us a roll of paper towels, sometimes house cleaners, soaps, stuff like that, and then maybe a roll or two of toilet paper, which I'm very thankful for, because with our current situation, other than food stamps, we have enough to survive, but not enough to really thrive. And what I mean by that is we can buy minimal paper goods and whatnot from the Dollar Tree, and then we can buy like most of our foods and whatnot with the food stamps. We just have to look at the digital ads for what's on sale. We know that Price Chopper, which is also known as Country Mart, they do discounts for those who have food stamps on produce, because produce is so expensive. It's crazy. I mean, granted, Aldi's has the cheapest eggs compared to the other stores around us, but still they're like four something, almost four. I think last time I looked was $4.69. It's gone down, because about a month or so ago it was close to $5.25 for a dozen of eggs, and I'm like, are you kidding me? So I'm happy to get my eggs however I can. Actually, there was one time, I think one of the food pantries gave us a dozen brown eggs, and we ended up doing something that I loved because I got really like hooked when we were visiting Ohio and going to Amish country. And this one place we used to go to is called Mrs. Yoder's Diner, and they had like not honey, but mustard pickled eggs instead of just straight up pickled eggs, and beet flavored pickled eggs. And I was hooked on the mustard pickled eggs. So we took those brown eggs, we boiled them up, let them chill overnight. Then we took the shell off, made our pickling, our mustard pickling ingredients, put it in a mason jar or an old, what was it, old sauerkraut jar, and pickled, pickled the eggs in that. It produced about 10 eggs. Those were gone within a week's time, maybe a week and a half. And what I decided to do this time around, which is smart of me, is keep the pickling juices in the jar in the refrigerator to keep cool. I'm thinking next time I have enough eggs, I might hard boil, another 10 to 12 eggs and see if I can get them in that pickling brine, because I like them. And I learned one thing that I did not learn the first time we made it ourselves is, sorry Oreo, I don't mean to startle you, is the longer you keep them in the brine or the pickling juices, the egg will start getting like a hard mustard flavored shell that also kind of seeps into the egg white. And I was actually thinking next time around, do that, wait a couple of days so they get nice and stiff and get that mustard flavor inside the egg white, cut them in half and make deviled eggs out of the yolk, and have mustard pickled deviled eggs. I like those combinations, and I like deviled eggs. I like mustard flavored pickled eggs. They sell at Price Chopper, so I had to remember where the best price was. Well, they sell it in Walmart too, but I like getting it from Price Chopper because they usually have it on sale this time of year because of picnics and whatnot. And the closer we get to the 4th of July, more of those pre-made potato salads and whatnot go on sale. And I usually go out and I buy myself their smallest, I don't know how many pounds it is, but it's their smallest thing. It's like a half-pound worth of deviled egg salad. And basically it's deviled egg potato salad. And I'm like, yes, please. And I'm pretty sure if I looked it up online, I could probably find a couple of recipes, everything from Amish potato salad to egg salad to, deviled egg salad, deviled egg potato salad. I think that's what they call it. But I'm actually looking forward to the warmer months, not because I feel like I'm freezing in this house every morning. And that's a combination of sometimes at nighttime it's hot and we need the cool air on, which is fine because then I just wear a long sleeve t-shirt or what they call a men's night shirt, and just crawl under the covers. And when I get too cold, I pull up the blanket and the quilt. It's not actually a quilt, it's more like a comforter. Not exactly European style, because if it was European style, it'd be like an eider-down comforter. And the only problem I have with that is, every so often the quill of the end piece, the sharp end piece of the feather is not cut off. So that's why I don't like eider-down pillows, because I don't like finding a quill poking me in the eye or something like that when I roll over. No, thank you. It's not a comfortable feeling. I mean, yes, when we were in Germany and I was a kid, nothing bugged me. It was fine and dandy. But nowadays, it's like, what did Jerry say? Call me one time, Princess and the Pea. My mattress had to be perfect. My pillows had to be perfect. If I was not comfortable laying in bed, something was wrong. And yeah, not that I always complain about it, but I tossed and turned and fidgeted and covers off, covers on, pillows stacked, pillows flattened, pillows sloughed up, pillows flattened out. I do still like my pillows where they're slightly like this, so I'm not like totally flat. Because I've noticed if I lay totally flat without having a little bit of a angle, um, I end up having problems breathing at night. So I have to be like inclined a little bit, just, 15, 30-degree angle, nothing heavy duty. That's why I like these wedge pillows I have, because you can flip them one way and you're inclined at a comfortable level. Flip it another way and it's like vertical. So you can flip it so your back is, your butt is against the pillow and you're leaning back, sitting up. So that's why I like my wedge pillow, because of the different angles I can be, propped up or sat up or whatever. But so it's been a fun week. Earlier in the week, Jerry got a little bit of a stomach bug, and today I have a little bit of a stomach bug. And I think I know why, because earlier in the week I was ingesting more liquid, from the protein drinks. And the protein drinks are a dairy-based drink, and I know me with my lactose intolerance that sometimes too much dairy is not a good thing for Jim. I get a little cranky in the digestive system if I have too much dairy. Which basically includes dairy, any kind of dairy product, milk, cheese, ice cream, protein shakes, things like that. So, but who knows? I mean, maybe whatever bug that Jerry had earlier in the week got to me through contact or something like that. I don't know. But I'm not complaining really, because I will say that not that you need to know my health issues, but earlier in the week I was kind of backed up, so I was like, finally, But anywho, I know some of you think I repeat the same thing over and over. I try not to, and I'm pretty sure those of you who and you know who I'm talking to, those of you who have become really good friends, would let me know in a friendly manner on some media forum or messenger. But this week is coming to a close, and unfortunately for me, I'm not exactly feeling happy about it, because not a lot got done around here, and I know the reasons why. It was because of medical conditions, recovery from our procedures, our my oral surgery and Jerry's back ablation. I'm hoping that this weekend we can get stuff done. Hopefully the weather will cooperate, because I know for myself that when the weather gets gloomy and nasty and whatnot, rain without thunder just drags me down. Now, if we had a good, thunderstorm or lightning storm or something like that, that energy from the thunderstorm would boost my energy instead of dragging me down. But on the downside of that is usually when we start getting strong storms, we have to sit by our phones or whatnot to watch for um, any kind of like nasty weather, like tornadoes or anything like that. Which after the one that actually came through Rolla, I'm like, if there's some place I can move that has no tornadoes or hurricanes, let's move to the mountains, because the only thing I'd have to worry about in the mountains is maybe forest fire and a blizzard. You know, most mountain terrain do not get tornadoes because the hills break up the wind currents. The hills and the mountains will break up wind currents. Um, it's rare, very rare that you hear about a tornado in the Rocky Mountains or certain parts of the Appalachians. But it's like the central part of the states from the eastern edge of the Rocky Mountains to various parts of Kentucky and Tennessee, close to the Appalachians or the Smoky Mountains, that get tornadoes frequently because there's a reason why they call it Tornado Alley. But I think the primary reason why we're trying to stay as close to Mom as possible is for Mom. Now I know Carla is here, and I don't want to have to hear about something that I don't want to hear about, and have to spend, more than 6 hours to drive up here. We've thought about St. Louis County because of the cancer center in St. Louis. But St. Louis County is expensive. It really is expensive territory to live in. If there was I don't know, Springfield and Kansas City, Missouri get worse tornadoes than we do here in Rolla. But I think as long as we can continue to afford to stay here, that's what we're going to do. We're going to stay here. There's a lot of reasons to stay here. One, it's easier to try to pay the bills and whatnot staying here than renting something smaller where the landlord, for any reason whatsoever, can decide to evict you. So we would prefer to stay in a house that we own than trying to either rent someplace or own something else. But I'm understanding Jerry's side of the coin, but I'm also listening to, what does God want from me? Does he want me to stay here? Does he want me to move on? What does he want from me? And I just gotta be patient and believe that, yes, God wants us to stay here for one reason or another. There's been, in my mind, I haven't said anything to Jerry, but there's been in my mind that, if, well, it's not even if, but when, because we all pass away at one point in time. If I'm not, if me and Jerry are not in an assisted living type facility because our health goes downhill, there has been some minor thought of either moving back towards New York, closer to Jerry's family. I really don't know how a lot of them feel about us, but there's been a lot of bad vibes from certain people. I'm not going to name names because this is my feeling, and I don't know if it's true, but I don't like the idea of rocking the family boat, so to speak. But I wouldn't mind living upstate New York, or just outside of the big city. You know, um, Jerry's got a friend, family friend, or relative, I think, that lives just past the city limits, upstate New York, in a very nice wooded community, with a nice, decent house. And I was like, this isn't too bad. I mean, I wouldn't mind living there. I mean, I'm within wooded area, or close to really close to wooded areas. Um, my only concern about moving back to like New York, even if it's upstate New York, is the cold climate, because they got that lakefront, combination of lakefront, not a front, lakefront, um, winter weather coming out of Canada in the Great Lakes area, and then they got what they call the hawk, the cold, bitter winds that come towards the end of winter. So it's kind of like one of those, like, do I want to deal with that kind of weather? I mean, with my back and whatnot, it takes me a long time just to mow my yard. In fact, once this batch of rainstorms pass, I have to get out there and do it again, because every time it rains, this grass grows like wildfire. And then the other thought was to move like westward, closer to her one sister, and maybe my family that live, well, I have family that live down in Phoenix. I have an aunt that lives in the Prescott Valley region. I've got family that I'd like to reconnect with that live in the Colorado region. And then it would be closer to drive to Washington to visit my cousin up there. Most of my family lives on the West Coast. Most of Jerry's family lives on the East Coast, except for 2 family members I know about. So it's one of those, like, yes, here in Missouri, we're kind of in the middle. It'd take us about a day and a half to drive to Arizona. It takes about a day and a half to drive. Well, no, it takes about 18 hours to drive back to New York. 18 hours to drive to Texas, if I can find out where my family lives down there. It took my father, driving from Phoenix, Arizona to St. Louis, about a day and a half. So I guess if you sat down and charted it out on on the Google Maps or something like that, you'd find out real quick. But I'm happy to stay here. My only concerns is keeping up with this house, because it's a 5-bedroom. Well, technically it's a 4-bedroom with a extra room. The reason why this room is not considered a bedroom is 1, no closet, 2, no windows, no way to get out if there's a fire, unless you went out one of the other bedroom windows, which is pretty close. But it cannot be classified as a bedroom. It could be classified as a bonus room. So, of course, if we did what we wanted to do, which was to take out this one wall, it would be one big living room, and may or may not get more bang for our buck. I don't know. But right now, we're not thinking about selling it. We're more or less thinking about just getting everything moved around or situated the way we want it, and then decide what we're going to do in the future, if we're going to just leave two of the rooms as as guest rooms, or what, you know. So I'm just kind of like, like I said, right now I just want to get it all cleaned up and fixed up and situated and looking nice and whatnot. And if for some reason down the road we have to sell, we sell. If we can afford to stay here, or get, like I said, get, college kids to rent the 2 rooms, it's fine by me. But Jerry doesn't really want to do that until she can convert the other end of the house, which means bringing mom's furniture in here, but convert that end of the house into a 2-bedroom apartment with a kitchenette, and basically 2 bedrooms, a half bath, a kitchenette, and sitting area, But I don't know. I'm not going to say no. I'm not going to say yes. I'm just going to say we'll see what the future brings us, because nobody knows what the future has. So, yeah. But anyhow, for those of you who decide to stick with me until the end, I'm going to read something. Now, I know a lot of you have heard the old saying, walk by faith, not by sight. I actually want to read the whole area. So hold on a second while I find, what is it, 2 Corinthians, Corinthians are the New Testament. Let's see here. Alrighty. I don't even know if I have it highlighted. Do I have a highlighter? Fudge. Nope. I need to get some. Or do I have one? Nope, those are all pens. Okay. Alright. Well, actually, we're going to skip that. No. It's going to be part of what I'm going to read. This is one this is actually something in the past I've had problems with, because I was very short-fused, short-tempered, and just, wasn't the person I want to be, or what I'm trying to be now. But it says here, it's this little chapter or paragraph, whatever you want to call it. It is basically 2 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 5. It starts at verse 5. And it's called Forgiveness for the Offender. Okay? I'm just going to read it, then I'm probably going to shut off, because, food for thought. But it says here, if anyone has caused grief, he has not so much grieved me as he has grieved all of you to some extent. Not to put it so severely, the punishment inflicted on him by the majority is significant. Significant. Now install your own to forgive and comfort him, so that he will not be overwhelmed by extensive sorrow. I urge you, therefore, to reaffirm your love for him. Another reason I wrote you was to see if you would stand the test and be obedient in everything. anyone you forgive, I also forgive. And what I have forgiven, if there was anything to forgive, I have forgiven in the sight of Christ for your sake, in order that Satan might not outwit us, for we are not unaware of his schemes. Now, for me, it's a little bit of a hard pill to swallow, because throughout my entire life, I have been put down, tormented, teased, bullied, belittled, and then some. Now, I know all the reasons why. Most of it is people could not understand me or did not understand my problems. Yes, I grew up in the military, and the military did not know how to diagnose my issues back then. So they labeled me